Hey everyone, welcome back. As said, today's story is going to be about Jesus being crucified and resurrected. Yes, Jesus was crucified. Not because he did anything wrong, but just because he agreed that he is Christ. But don't worry, he resurrected. So if you want to know more about this story, just keep watching.
Jesus healed people. He gave life to the dead, and he was a great teacher who taught everyone about God. But the religious leaders didn't like Jesus. They hated him so much that they decided to have him killed. So they gave 30 pieces of silver to Judas to help them kill Jesus. Now Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane with his disciples. He told them to pray with him, but they were tired and fell asleep. So Jesus prayed along to the Father. Jesus knew his enemies wanted him dead. He also knew that dying on the cross was God's plan for him in order to forgive people for their sins. As Jesus was praying, suddenly an angry crowd approached, sent by the religious leaders to arrest Jesus. Judas kissed Jesus to show that he is the one to be arrested. So the soldiers took Jesus to the religious leaders. The religious leaders then took him to the governor, Pontius Pilate. They couldn't find any reason to kill Jesus, so they told him that Jesus says that he is king. Pilate asked Jesus whether he is Christ, and Jesus replied, "Yes." So they decided to kill Jesus just because he agreed that he is Christ. So Pontius Pilate had his soldiers whip Jesus 39 times. They forced a thorny crown on his head and laid a huge cross on his back and led him all the way to Golgotha. The cross was so heavy and Jesus didn't have any more strength to go up a hill carrying a huge cross. So a person named Simon helped Jesus to carry the cross. There, on that hill, the Roman soldiers nailed Jesus to the cross. They wrote on top as King of Jews, and Jesus hung there between two thieves. Around noon, the sky turned dark. Everyone wept, but the religious leaders laughed and said, "You saved other people, so why can't you save yourself?" "Forgive them, Father," Jesus said, because he knew God's plan for him was to die on the cross so that he could forgive people for their sins. When it was the right time for Jesus to die, he closed his eyes and said, "It is finished." He had completed what he had come to do in this world because of his great love for us. One of Jesus' followers, named Joseph, put his body to a tomb. He then rolled a huge stone in front of it. Sunday morning, some women went near the tomb with some spices. When they arrived, the stone had been moved. Jesus' body was gone, and there were angels near the tomb. They said Jesus had resurrected as he said he would. Go tell his disciples. The women told the disciples. Peter ran to Jesus' tomb to see for himself. All he found was Jesus' burial clothes. When the disciples were together, talking about Jesus' resurrection, Jesus appeared in front of them and said, "Peace be with you." The disciples were frightened and thinking it was a ghost. He said to them, "Look in my hands and feet. It is I, myself. Touch me and see. A ghost doesn't have flesh and bones as you see I have." When he said this, he showed them his hands and feet, which was nailed to the cross. Jesus told the disciples to go and tell everyone about his good news. He also said, "Go make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that Jesus have commanded.
The religious leaders didn't like Jesus. They wanted to kill him. But they couldn't find any reason to kill Jesus because he was a great person. But somehow, they convinced Pontius Pilate, saying that Jesus says that he is Christ. So Pilate decided to kill Jesus. He made his soldiers whip Jesus 39 times, forced a thorny crown in his head, and made him carry a huge cross all the way to Golgotha. And on that hill, Jesus was crucified between two other thieves. Well, that was God's plan. He sent his son Jesus to this world to preach the gospel of his kingdom to all the people and die on that cross in order to forgive people for their sins. Well, anyways, Jesus resurrected. So it's a happy ending. Well, that's the story of Jesus being crucified and resurrected. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back next week with another interesting Bible story like this. Bye. God bless y'all.